Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome back for another card video. Today I have a clean and simple balloon card. I'm using this set by Clearly Besotted called Let's Party Again. It has 3 different stamps for 5 different shaped balloons. And I'm actually going to use all 5 of these balloons. These are all the different shapes, and I've formed them into kind of a semicircle here. And once I get them placed, I'm going to mark the bottom of each one. And then I'm just going to stamp them according to this little pencil line that I'm drawing. I'm using the 2-step stamps for each one of these balloons. I'm going to start with Picked Raspberry, and I'm going to stamp off. Now, I usually don't stamp off distress inks because they don't really stamp very well when you stamp off, but I wanted an ink that was going to blend really well, and I know the distress inks blend very well, and I'm using watercolor paper. This is Canson XL. Mixed media paper. So the reason why I use the distress inks, as you can see, after that second stamp of just the Picked Raspberry without stamping off, I'm going to take my aqua painter and just sort of smooth it out a little bit because the stamp has some pretty harsh lines in it, and I just wanted a little bit more of a smoother look. So I'm going to color all the areas that are not white. I'm going to try to leave the white as they are just because it creates a really nice reflection. For my second balloon, I'm going to use Carved Pumpkin. Again, I'm going to stamp off here. I'll get a really light color. And then for the second step, I'm going to just use Carved Pumpkin without stamping off. And again, going in there with my aqua painter and just sort of smoothing it out a little bit, being careful not to really touch too much of that white area. For the yellow, when you stamp off yellow, it's just way too light. So I did my first stamp in Squeezed Lemonade, and then my second one in Scattered Straw, and that gave me the perfect combination. And again, just going in there really quickly with my aqua painter. For the fourth balloon, I'm using Twisted Citron, and I didn't think this would be dark enough when I stamped off, but it did a pretty good job. So I'm going to stamp off the Twisted Citron for my first step, and then just a regular Twisted Citron for the second step. And then again, blend this together. For my last balloon, I'm using Peacock Feathers. And this one, again, is a pretty dark one, so I'm gonna stamp off here. This is my heart balloon, and then stamp that final one using the pencil mark. And then for my second step, I will stamp the Peacock Feathers without stamping off. And this one blends really nicely, actually. So I'm just gonna go in there with my aqua painter one last time. Now I'm gonna add one more step to this, and you could skip it, but I just grabbed a few markers that I thought would match, just a shade darker than what I had stamped. So I'm using Melon Mambo for from Stampin' Up, and I'm just going over the left side of the balloon and then up the right side just a little bit. The reason why I didn't use my Picked Raspberry pen is because it's dried out. But I did have my Carved Pumpkin marker, so I'm going to use that one. You can see how it just adds that little extra pop to make it dimensional. My Scattered Straw pen was also dried out, so I'm using Mustard Seed. Actually turned out pretty well. Notice I'm not going over all the edges, just a few here to make it look dimensional. I don't have a Twisted Citron marker, so I substituted a Wild Wasabi Stampin' Up marker. So I really just went through my stash to figure out what I had that would match pretty well. It doesn't have to be exact, just a shade darker. And then I have my Peacock Feathers marker, so I just use that on the left-hand side and then a little bit around the edge of the balloon. That's kind of the part on the right-hand side as well. I wanted my balloon strings to be really thin, so I'm using a 0.05 Copic liner, and I'm just kind of making it a little wiggly so it looks realistic, so not perfectly straight. And I'm just making a line freehand all the way down. If you have a stamp, you could use a stamp, but I thought it'd be just as easy to draw it. And then I went back and added a little line where the bottom knot of the balloon is, so it looks like the ribbon is kind of around it. I'm going to stamp my sentiment with some VersaFine Black Onyx ink. It's a nice crisp black ink. And now I'm going to add, I wanted something a little extra, and I thought black splatters would be good, but I don't want too much, so I'm being really careful. I'm not using that much water so that I get really small dots, and I'm just dropping a few times, but I'm going to be really careful not to overdo it. I have this washi tape that I bought at the craft store, and so I'm just going to take, I have a black and white stripe here, and I'm going to put it along the edge of a card base. So this is Neenah Solar White folded to an A2 size. So I just placed it along the edge there and trimmed off the excess. And then I'm going to take my watercolor panel with the balloons and adhere it to this base. Now this panel with the balloons is only 5 1/4 inches wide so that it shows the washi tape on the left. And then I took a 1/4 inch black strip and put it at the bottom so it looked like the balloons kind of were coming out of something instead of just thin air. And then I trimmed off the excess. And that is the card for today. So a pretty easy way to use this stamp set, and I really love the look of these balloons. They're really unique. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.